The following program is being brought to you on the Seventh Wave Network. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit seventhwavenetwork.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management. Welcome. You've entered the realm of 1111 Talk Radio. Your host is Simran Singh. It's time to discover your own language with the universe. Learn to empower yourself, broaden your mind, open your heart, and discover who you are. Now, here's your host, Simran Singh.
Welcome to 1111 Talk Radio. We each have our own story, our own journey that we come here to live, and many times that encompasses both bliss and pain. The real story of Ester Nicholson, my guest tonight, is not of her famous performances on Good Morning America or the tours around the world. The untold story is her recovery from drug addiction through her genuine love of the divine, and the incredible life transformation that resulted from that love. Through years of work, study, and prayer, Ester has been reborn as a successful musical artist, businesswoman, and inspirational speaker. Her music inspires and has a soulful rhythm that touches the soul. I'd like to welcome Ester Nicholson to 1111 Talk Radio. We are thrilled to have you here.
Hello, Simran. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
You know, I really am a fan of your music, and we did a feature on you in the March-April issue of 1111 magazine,
yes.
And your story just touches the heart and is so inspirational, and to me needs to be heard by so many, because there are a lot of people that find themselves in that place and don't necessarily know that there's a way out. So I'd love for people to really know who you are and a bit of your background and kind of how you started, how you grew up, just to really know your story.
Absolutely. I was born in a very religious family. My father was, my father was a Baptist minister, and I'm the youngest out of 8 children. My youngest brother is 13 years older than me, so there was quite a age difference between myself and my older brothers and sisters.
You had a lot of parents.
Yeah, I still do, actually. And it was a really interesting dynamic that I grew up with. On one hand, I felt absolutely cherished by my father and my older sisters and brothers, because I was like the true crowned baby of the family.
Sure.
You know. And on the other hand, I had a mother who, by the time she had me, was exhausted, was spiritually and emotionally bankrupt, and who did not have the tools to heal herself. And I reaped the brunt of her pain.
And there are many women that end up in that position for a lot of reasons, but it does impact the children, not necessarily on purpose, but it does have an effect. And to have that kind of dichotomy that's going on within the family as being cherished on one side and, in a sense, probably feeling invisible on the other.
Absolutely.
What was that like? What did that do?
I think it caused some confusion that at times I still have to work with, because stuff can be so deeply rooted that even after years of spiritual study and meditation, you still find yourself. I still find myself in certain situations feeling those feelings of, on one hand, feeling entitled, and on the other hand, feeling inadequate or not enough. But the difference now is that I know that it's an illusion. I know that it's a lie that I bought that started out-picturing in my life. So now that I'm aware of that, and now that I have the tools to immediately tap into that which is real, which is God, it soon, dissipates into the nothingness from which it came. But of course, when I was a child, before I had access to God at this level, or before I had access to any spiritual tools, the lie that I bought, and I bought the lie mostly that I wasn't enough, and that I wasn't good enough, and of feelings of rejection and abandonment. I bought that more than I bought that I was cherished.
Well, and what I love so much about you, Esther, and it comes through in your music, is that level of authenticity, the ability to embrace that this is what I went through, and I still am at that place sometimes. There are still emotions that come up. There's still things that occur that I still have to work through, and I think that's one big hurdle that a lot of people can't get past. They think that they've gone through the journey, I've forgiven this, I've healed this, why am I having to revisit this? But it is a necessary part, step by step, to have to go back and revisit that little child or those situations.
Well, I think that because God is infinite, and we are emanations of God, that there's never an end to our unfolding. In layman's terms, they call it, the onion peel. It's like, absolutely a lot of the pain and a lot of the false beliefs and the illusions have been peeled away. But we're getting to the core now. So there's still some layers to go. So yes, at first, after years of study and meditation, I used to rail against, why am I still going through this? But now, as I've come to have so much more compassion for myself, God, I am so grateful. I have so much more love and compassion for myself, and an understanding that the pain that I experienced in my life, it may have not even just come from this lifetime. It may have come from many lifetimes. So the peace that I experience today, and the greatness and the wonderful stuff that I get to experience today is huge, compared to where I may have come from that I'm not even aware of.
Well, and what's also part of wonderful about that authenticity that you have and being able to fully state that realness of you is that you also embrace that there's a divine me, there's a God me, there's a channel that pours through me and is me, and that's a message that people need to hear. Because so often, because of that core feeling that you spoke of, the unworthiness, it's hard to grasp that there is that divinity within each one of us.
Right.
Particularly for some young women and young men that are out there now.
Yeah. What was the question?
Particularly for young women and young men that are out there now that are struggling so much with that core issue of unworthiness or not good enoughness, to be able to grasp and hold on to that strand that is the divinity, their good enoughness, sometimes can be a challenge.
Well, I've started speaking at schools, and in the beginning of my talk, I always tell them how they were born and created and came into this world from such a joyful place, and that they were joyful, and if they remember, when they were 2 years old or 1 year old or even 5 years old, how free and liberating, they felt, and how, they just did what gave them joy. But at some point, someone told them a lie. At some point, someone said to them, and maybe not even in these words, but it's what translated back to them, you're not enough. You didn't do that well enough. You're ugly. You're fat. You're this or you're that. And somewhere, in that very formative stage, or maybe lifetimes ago, you bought the lie. And that lie became a groove in your consciousness.
And for you, with the childhood and the many siblings that were much older and the mother that was going through her experience, where did that groove happen for you? Where did you start telling yourself, I'm not enough?
I'm writing a book, and I'm trying to. I think the first time I was conscious of it, because I've done so much forgiveness work and I teach forgiveness, that I truly believe in my soul that I came in here with those feelings. And I came into this incarnation with those feelings. And that instead of my mother being the cause of those wounds, like I thought she was for so many years, she was simply the mirror of those wounds.
Oh,
and
yes.
so that we had an agreement for me to come through her so that she could help me play this out, so that I could make the decision to heal in this lifetime.
And so often we choose those parents simply for the sake of even marinating in that sort of emotion that mother is carrying to amplify what it is that we need to overcome or transcend or discover and become aware of. And that, too, may have been part of the reason that you each chose each other. But
I absolutely believe that. And in coming to that realization, I was able to totally forgive my mother. And, out of all the years of doing all this other forgiveness work, but still feeling like she did something to me versus she was a part of the divine plan for my healing, I could never heal from that perspective. But when I started healing from the perspective of, she just played her part.
And I am here with Ester Nicholson, the daughter of a Baptist minister and raised in a home with strong gospel roots. She has taken her music around the globe, performing as a vocalist with Rod Stewart, Bette Midler, Brenda Russell, Al Green, Faith Hill, Beyonce, and more. Join me back in just a few minutes, and we will speak a little bit more to Ester Nicholson.
Your online community for positive change. Seventh Wave Network.
We all want peace. We all desire a more meaningful life. We work hard to achieve these things, but at what avail? The key is authentic living with Andrea Matthews. Andrea will interview some of the great spiritual experts of today and will provide wisdom to help you raise your consciousness to the level of your own I am. Your authenticity can give you miraculous gifts, but you have to know how to get there. Listen for Authentic Living with Andrea Matthews. Heard live every Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time on the Seventh Wave Network.
Have you seen 1111? Do you wonder why certain numbers keep showing up in your life? 11, 111, 22, 33, 444. People all over the world are seeing 1111 and learning the language of universal communication. Subscribe to 1111 Magazine today. www.1111mag.com. 1111 Magazine is a bi-monthly print publication that offers a rich, multi-sensory experience. As you engage with experts and topics of consciousness, become enlightened, empowered, and energized, so you live a passionate and authentic life of conscious choices. 1111 Magazine, a daily staple for lifting the mindset, discovering the heart, and stepping into conscious living. 1111 Magazine. Order now at www.1111mag.com. 1111mag.com.
Mom?
Dad?
How long should I wait for you? Mom?
If I'm at soccer practice.
What if something happens? Will you come get me?
There's no reason not to have a plan in case of a terrorist attack.
Mom, if you're not home, should we go to the neighbor's house?
And some extremely good reasons why you should.
Can you tell me?
Everybody should have a plan. Take 5 minutes to talk about where you'll meet and how you'll get in touch with each other in an emergency. For other things you can do to be prepared, visit www.ready.gov. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the Ad Council.
The new home for visionary positive change. Seventh Wave Network.
You are listening to 1111 Talk Radio. If you'd like to join today's discussion, please call in toll-free at 1-866-472-5795. Again, 1-866-472-5795. You may also send an email to info@believesc.com. Now back to 1111 Talk Radio with Simran Singh.
I am here with Ester Nicholson. She currently tours the U.S. presenting concerts and workshops, and she has a CD entitled Child Above the Sun, which we have a small clip about that actually is that song, Child Above the Sun. So I will let you listen to that clip, which is a beautifully produced song that celebrates transformation and parallels her journey in life.
The streets at dawn, I've been up all night, still coming down from yesterday's height. I'm all shaken up and my heart is sad for the love that I've wasted and the life that I never had. So I'm asking you, my Father, are you ashamed of me? And I hear your voice in my soul whispering, child above the sun, I know what you've done. See who you are and all that's in your heart. Child above the sun, no matter what you do, I'll keep this candle burning, watching over you. Child above the sun. Me to my knees, this love you feel for me. When I'd almost given up, it was you who still believed, shining down on me, pure eternal light, in the rhythm of my heart. You was all the time, so I'm thanking you, my Father, for standing next to me.
Ester Nicholson has all the essential qualities of greatness, a unique tone, wonderful phrasing, emotional flexibility, and passion. In a nutshell, the girl's got soul. That's what Rod Stewart said about you, and I couldn't agree more. I've seen you in person, and just your presence on stage is amazing, and your sound comes out so powerfully. I know that your brothers and sisters were singers with groups like the Dixie Hummingbirds and Shirley Caesar and the Swan Silvertones, so you obviously were born just from the beginning with this incredible gift.
I was created with it, absolutely. It wasn't anything that I was ever made to do or coerced into doing. You know, I just, from the time I was 4 years old, you know, getting up and standing up next to my father while he was on the pulpit, singing behind him and being in the little kids choir. I always wanted to lead. You know, it was just something that was just very it was a natural passion. It was a passion, you know. And I remember taking the broomstick or a hairbrush out to my backyard, and you know, giving myself little mini concerts, giving the trees little mini concerts.
Did you know at that time that this was who you were? Did you have the confidence in your ability to sing?
Yeah, before I bought the lie, you know, it's like the lies were incremental, you know, like there were a lot of years when I was younger where I had no doubt in my ability. And I felt very free and very passionate about this gift. that God had given me. But one day someone told me I couldn't sing, or one day I had a bad day singing, or, one day somebody looked at me the wrong way when I hit a bad note, and I didn't look at that as, oh, wow, I hit a bad note, no big deal. I looked at that and I said, oh, you can't sing, and especially when I left home and I wasn't around the people in my life who were like my biggest fans, my father and my brothers and sisters in the church congregation who would just love it every time I got up to sing. And I came out to California where there were some real singers, not that I wasn't a real singer, but I was like a diamond in the rough. There were some bad habits that I had, and there were trained singers and all that. And I got around them, and instead of me realizing, oh, you just need to nurture your gift and refine and fine tune your craft, I took that to mean I was horrible and I wasn't enough. So it's like the lies are just so subtle and they go deep if we're not aware, if we're not a good steward over our attention.
And those lies, to go from a place where you're very cherished, and I'm sure completely applauded because the congregation would have loved you, and of course your family would have loved your singing, to a place where the confidence can be shaken a little bit. How did you then get to the place of such despair? You ended up with drug addiction and different things like that. So how does someone get to that place?
I think that, and I like that you said, how do you get to that place? Because you don't just show up there out of the blue.
Of course not.
There are, for me, I think it was from the time I came into this incarnation, or I came into this incarnation with, that hunger for more, that hunger to fix something that I felt was broken. And, before I was introduced to drugs and alcohol, what temporarily fed that hunger was food, or, we called it being boy crazy, but it's like I was always after obsessed over some boy, because I needed the attention. I needed someone to tell me that I was beautiful. I needed someone to tell me that they liked me, in order for me to feel worthy. And, and then I graduated from that, of course, into the drugs and alcohol. So, I cannot tell you that, one day I looked up and I felt so empty and, I just tried drugs and alcohol and that was it. I think that it was an ongoing hunger that I fed any way I could. And drugs and alcohol was one of the ways in which I did that.
And really, addictions abound. I mean, for some people it might be drugs and alcohol, but for other people it can be food, and it can be sex, and it can be working too much. I mean, there can be all kinds of things that allow us to fall into that place, but often that breakdown point is the breakthrough point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even though it may not seem like the breakthrough point, because my breakdown point, seemed to go on for 6 years before I actually had the breakthrough of, I don't want to, I can't live this way another day, and I don't want to die this way.
Just so the listeners know, because it is an incredible story, and I like for people to understand that people can go to the very depths of pain and walk out not only tall and strong, but in a way that inspires and motivates other people, which is who you are. Take them a little bit through what those 6 years were like. What happened? Where were the depths of that?
The depths of that for me was being. I started off snorting cocaine, and I was the gift of God for me was I was broken just enough where snorting cocaine stopped doing the trick. So I needed to go to something stronger. And I call it a gift because I believe that my 6 years in that experience was so intense, that is what created my ministry. And so I call it a gift today that I went from snorting cocaine to freebasing cocaine. And even though snorting cocaine is also very addictive, there's a whole other level to it with smoking cocaine. And you just never, ever, ever get enough. And you don't get enough, and you're out of money. And so what do you have that you can exchange for drugs? You have your body, you know. And so I started selling my body for drugs, something that I was so incongruent with this other part of me that felt entitled and that felt like I was the queen bee, you know.
Sure.
You know, it was, and with my father's love, you know what I mean? That's why I wrote Child Above the Sun and wrote it, dedicating it to my father, because it was so out of alignment with being this minister's daughter and just the life that I wanted to have, you know. Went from that to not being able to care for my daughter, you know, and having to send her to live with my mother and my sister, and to one day, is that music I hear?
And that is, this is Ester Nicholson that I have with me today. You can see her CDs at www.esternicholson.com. The place of your deepest wound is the result and where your greatest gift can be found. And if there ever was a story that provided hope to the hopeless, Esther's life demonstrates that. Join me back in a few minutes and we will hear a little bit more about Esther's life and her CD and ongoing workshops.
Be extraordinary. Seventh Wave Network.
Have you seen 1111? Do you wonder why certain numbers keep showing up in your life? 11, 111, 22, 33, 444. People all over the world are seeing 1111 and learning the language of universal communication. Subscribe to 1111 Magazine today. www.1111mag.com. 1111 Magazine is a bi-monthly print publication that offers a rich, multi-sensory experience. As you engage with experts and topics of consciousness, become enlightened, empowered, and energized, so you live a passionate and authentic life of conscious choices. 1111 Magazine, a daily staple for lifting the mindset, discovering the heart, and stepping into conscious living. 1111 Magazine. Order now at www.1111mag.com. 1111mag.com.
Are you looking for life's balance? Look no further than Seventh Wave Network. We're bringing you Life's Balance with Shaman M. Let Melody McBride take you on a unique listening experience. You'll explore the world of alternative health. Learn about the many facets of healing. Preventative lifestyles from children to seniors will be discussed on the show. Listen for Life's Balance with Shaman M. Broadcast live every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Seventh Wave Network. It's the healthy side of life. Let peace and balance be yours.
The results indicate your child has neuroblastoma. There's evidence of metastasis. We need to schedule a We'll need to perform a surgical biopsy, MIBG scan.
After you hear your child has cancer, chances are you don't hear anything else. CureSearch.org connects you to the most comprehensive research and advice on childhood cancer, and to other families who know exactly what you're going through. CureSearch.org. You're not as alone as you feel. Brought to you by CureSearch and the Ad Council.
Listening on a higher dimension. Seventh Wave Network.
You were listening to 1111 Talk Radio. If you'd like to join today's discussion, please call in toll-free at 1-866-472-5795. Again, 1-866-472-5795. You may also send an email to info@believesc.com. Now back to 1111 Talk Radio with Simran Singh.
I am here with an incredible musician and motivational speaker, Ester Nicholson, and she will be at the Unity San Antonio this weekend performing as well as giving a workshop on forgiveness. You can find out about this event and others at www.esternicholson.com. And I'd love to hear a little bit more of your music, so I think we should listen to a clip of Forever You.
Proud, dignified, and true, and do unto others as you have done to you. Be courageous and be brave, and in my heart you will remain forever young. Forever young. May good fortune be with you. May your guiding light be strong. Build a stairway to heaven. Be a prince or a vagabond. May you never love in vain. And in my heart, you will remain forever young.
Ester Nicholson says her mission, her desire is to inspire and encourage individuals to never give up, no matter how dark it seems at times. She quotes, "I want you to know through my music and writing that in the seeming darkness is your gift, so don't ever give up before it's uncovered." So, Esther, after you are now 23 years of sobriety, and after being a drug addict for 6 years, losing a child, walking the streets, you found a way to make this 6-year challenge your gift. Sometimes angels show up in our lives, living and non-living, that support that. How did you get from there to now writing and creating such beautiful music?
Well, before there's a rebirth, there has to be a death. And that part of my life, in that part of my life, I died. You know, I looked in the mirror one day, and there was just skin covering the skeleton. And I reached inward to God and said, help me. Help me. And, I started on my journey from that point in Cocaine Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. And when I call those 6 years my 6 years of hell, but they were my gift, is because I was just broken enough where I couldn't play around with just hanging out in the fellowship of the 12-step programs. I had to delve deeply and immediately into the spiritual aspect so that I could experience the grace of God immediately. Because if I would have gone back out and started using drugs again, I was going to physically die as well as spiritually die. And there was something about my experience with God that first time. I had a burning bush experience, which is what I needed at that level and at that time. The first time I ever tried prayer and meditation, it took me over, and I was home for the first time that I can ever remember. I was home, and I never knew that I was away from home because I had never touched it before.
And, you know, that's really what the longing is that all of us have. We fill it up with the material. We fill it up with these external things like drugs or alcohol or food or work or whatever these things are, but it always is that loneliness or longing for home.
Absolutely. And then once you touch it, you're like, oh my, it feels like you've never been away once you've touched it because it's your nature. It's your true nature, you know? And I've never been the same. I've never been the same. And so, you know, they talk about going from glory to greater glory. You know, once I touched the presence of God and my consciousness was open to God and having that experience and that connection, I did absolutely go from glory to greater glory, and I continued to grow. And, my music grew, and then at one point I thought that I was only a singer, you know, and then the more I grew spiritually, my ministry, in addition to the music, you know, the speaking and the workshops and the writing and all of that started coming into play. And of course, I'm a religious science licensed practitioner. So my ministry and my life has grown so far beyond what I thought, even at my best when I was just singing. You know, I had no idea that what God had in store for me, and there's still so much more to come. Even today, things are unfolding that I had no idea that that's what I do.
And that's just it. When we don't have a vision, there is a vision out there for us. And when we do have that vision, it's bigger than what we can even imagine.
That's right. So in using that, not only in using that 6 years, but using every aspect of my life, from kindergarten, from 2 years old, of all those times I thought that I wasn't enough, or the times when I thought I was entitled, I use all of those core wounds as my sacred wounds now to touch and to inspire people that are walking through similar experiences, to first of all relate to them and tell them I understand where they're coming from, but to also let them know that that is not the final word. That is not the final word of your life. And you get to choose whether or not you're going to play that out for the rest of this lifetime or whether you're going to transcend it. And it takes everything that you think you are, and it takes everything that you're not to transcend it. But if you are willing and you have touched something or caught the vision or glimpsed something that is so much more powerful than what you've ever experienced, you can have it.
And do you have a certain practice, you know, or a certain ritual, or there's certain things that you do to help keep you in that place of focus or balance or discipline?
Absolutely. I meditate 3 times a day. It's on my calendar. Every night when I make out my calendar for the next day, it says 7 a.m. Reading, prayer, and meditation. It says 2 p.m. reading, prayer, and meditation. 9:30 p.m. before I go to bed, meditation and visioning. You know, it's what I do because my beloved God is very important to me, and I really honor that relationship, and I don't take it for granted. And I treat that relationship the way you would treat the beloved that is manifesting as your husband or your wife or your wonderful job, something that's really important to you. I give myself and God that quality time together.
And that's also a step in worth, because I find a lot of people will say that, you know, I don't have time for that, or gosh, I meant to do that, I just didn't get to fit it in today. But it's not really so much that you're trying to fit it in as much as it is, are you giving yourself a sense of worthiness to allow that gift to yourself? At least that's how I interpret that.
Well, it could be that, but it's also, and of course, any feelings of feeling overly worthy or underworthy is ego, you know. But it's also people don't give themselves that time or give God that time because it's your ego does not want to be quieted like that. It doesn't want to. The last thing that the ego wants to do is surrender its control. So when you say, I'm going to meditate and I'm going to surrender everything I think I know and everything I think I am, that's like, it's like I literally die to my ego several times a day. And it's not even easy for me all the time, because sometimes I can be on a roll with some kind of project and I don't want to stop and sit down and meditate. But because I know what it is, I know that it's the ego trying to regain control of my life, and I know the benefits of hanging out with God, I do it anyway. But it's still not easy all the time to do it. It is truly a discipline,
And that's a misconception, I think, that is also out there, is the people that have attained a certain level of success or reached enlightenment, so to speak, that at that point they don't have to do anything, or that it's not hard, or they don't hear the mental chatter. And that's part of the human experience. We're still going to have those times where we slip in and out or want to resist a little bit.
And that's why it's so important to embrace that aspect of you at a certain point in your life, and to not feel like, wow, I should be so past this by now. I should be so much more spiritual than this that I don't resist meditation. Well, sometimes I still do resist meditation. But you know what? The beauty of it is that even though I'm resistant to it, I do it anyway.
And we are with Ester Nicholson. She inspires, she motivates, she conducts workshops and singing performances. This weekend she will be at Unity San Antonio, and you can find out more about this workshop and others at www.esternicholson.com. Her mission is to inspire and encourage you to never give up, no matter how dark it seems at times. She wants you to know that through her music and writing, that the seeming darkness is your greatest gift, so don't give up before it's uncovered. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
Awakened media for a transforming world. Seventh Wave Network.
Just what is Skills USA?
Skills USA specifically prepares you for the workforce.
Skills USA empowers students to connect with a network of people. Skills USA allows students to connect with business and industry, to manage their education, and to really get a feel of the real world.
Skills USA.
Find out more on the web at skillsusa.org.
Experience higher love, an archangelic journey into ascended joy and authentic living.
Your hosts, Sri Ram Ka and Kira Ra, will assist you to open your heart, expand your love, and be ever present with true joy.
Your journey with Sri and Kira begins right here on the Seventh Wave Network with Higher Love, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Have you seen 1111? Do you wonder why certain numbers keep showing up in your life? 11, 111, 22, 33, 444. People all over the world are seeing 1111 and learning the language of universal communication. Subscribe to 1111 Magazine today. www.1111mag.com. 1111 Magazine is a bi-monthly print publication that offers a rich, multi-sensory experience. As you engage with experts and topics of consciousness, become enlightened, empowered, and energized, so you live a passionate and authentic life of conscious choices. 1111 Magazine, a daily staple for lifting the mindset, discovering the heart, and stepping into conscious living. 1111 Magazine. Order now at www.1111mag.com. 1111mag.com.
Listening on a higher dimension. Seventh Wave Network.
You are listening to to 1111 Talk Radio. If you'd like to join today's discussion, please call in toll-free at 1-866-472-5795. Again, 1-866-472-5795. You may also send an email to info@believesc.com. Now back to 1111 Talk Radio with Simran Singh.
The soulful sounds of Ester Nicholson on her CD, Child Under the Sun, is an untold story of her recovery from drug addiction through her genuine love of the divine and the incredible life transformation that has resulted from that love. I'd like for you to hear one last clip before we end the show in a little bit for Never to Be the Same.
all the changes I've been through made me reach a little higher, draws me nearer to you. I'll never be the same. 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 The pain was so deep that I could not see, and moment by moment I had to put my trust in thee. You pulled me through the darkness and despair, gave me strength to walk through every one of my fears.
What comes through the audience and the workshop participants is our oneness. That we all go through the same kind of pain, the same kind of shame, the same stuff, even if our stories are different. And what is really obvious to me at this time and point on the planet, that people are ready to be free. People really want to heal. People are really ready to experience peace and harmony and love and abundance. And they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of the pain that's been running their lives for a lot of years.
And I agree with that. I see that a lot just in my own coaching practice. People that are just saying, I know there's a light at the end of this tunnel and I just need to hang on.
Yeah.
Definitely. So when you encounter your own shadow side from time to time, because we all have it come back up, how do you work yourself back through that?
Well, like I said, the blessing is, we talked a little bit about, even at this stage in my spiritual unfoldment and my sobriety, that I still experience the shadow side sometimes. And, that there have been times when I've said, gosh, I thought I would be over this by now. What's really powerful is that when I do experience it today, it's not like it was 5 years ago. It's not like it was 2 years ago. It's definitely not like it was 20 years ago, because I'm a totally different person. It's like I'm the mommy now that is watching my little girl in pain, and I know how to comfort her. I know how to nurture her. And most of all, I know how to pray for her. So I know how to pray her out of the illusion into truth. I know how to talk her out of it. I know how to nurture her out of it. Whereas before, I didn't have those tools, and I was always reaching for something outside of myself to make it better for me. Now I know that in and of itself is the illusion, and that the truth is that I have everything inside of myself to come to the truth, and that I have access to that.
And that's the place of empowerment that individuals
Absolutely.
need to allow themselves by attending different types of workshops or even utilizing music to help them feel better, to get connected to maybe what their own thoughts and feelings are inside.
Right.
I have always found sound and tone and music to be one of the most healing elements. And they say that it resonates with many of the chakras in the body and the different frequencies. How has that always been healing for you?
Music is indescribable. I could hear a certain chord and not even hear the lyrics, but I could hear a certain chord on a piano that will bring me to my knees in tears and just in ecstasy. So music definitely can reach a place in your soul that maybe a lecture or a talk cannot. So it's just always affected me. I have a soulmate kind of experience with music.
Yeah, that puts it into words beautifully, I think. And what's on the horizon for you, Esther? What's the next vision?
My next project and vision and project is to complete my book and get the book out there that is currently entitled A Prayer for Me. And like I shared with you in our last talk, that seems to be the title of the book right now, but by the time I get to the end of the book, it could be a totally different title. And the same thing happened with Child Above the Sun. You know, when I first started that project, the name of the CD was not Child Above the Sun. So I'm totally open to God revealing to me the title of this book. But the essence of this book is the same as my story, is the same as my talks, and the same as my workshops. I'm actually telling my story, you know, of coming through my mother's womb and experiencing the vibration of feeling unwanted, and the love and adoration of my father and my siblings, and the exclusion that I felt when I was in kindergarten, from the time I was in kindergarten, and all of those experiences and walking the streets looking for my next hit, all of that. But at the end of each chapter, I talk about my transcendence. At the end of each chapter, I say a prayer for me from this place in consciousness that is still shining the light on that young lady that was wounded and broken and didn't know who she was. So I either say a prayer for me, or I have some spiritual person that I have a lot of respect for say a prayer for me at the end of each chapter. So I think it's going to be a very powerful book.
Well, we look forward to seeing that come out and talking about that on another episode. So thank you very much, Esther, for being on 1111 Talk Radio. Next week, we have Mirabai Devi. She's an international spiritual teacher and conduit for healing, an author and the founder of the Mirabai Devi Foundation. So join us next week, and we will talk to her, and I will look forward to speaking with you again.
Streets at dawn, I've been up all night, still coming down from yesterday's height. I'm all shaken up and my heart is sad for the love that I've wasted and the life that I never had. So I'm asking you, my Father, are you ashamed of me?
Thank you for stepping into the doorway of conscious choice. with 1111 Talk Radio. Please join host Simran Singh again next Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for another enlightening edition here on the Seventh Wave Network. Remember, shift happens.